Good morning. So I must say that I really don't like the feeling of being tested. I don't know. Presumably, what do you need to test? And I mean, it really, it makes me very sad, and I've said it many times. I don't like to be tested. I mean, who likes to be tested? Nobody likes to be tested. Is there someone that likes to be tested? This is humiliating. I mean, I guess everybody will agree that this is humiliating. I mean, presumably they want to see if, when I spoke about the military service, it was me or, another person that spoke for my mouse. Presumably, because they don't, it's the same flesh and blood. I did not exit the apartment from yesterday, not even to get the trash out. It's still here, see? So, two options. We have two options here. Maybe they have a way to know if it's if it comes from the person itself, even if, again, presumably it says the same things, because, an operator or whatever you call it, can still be around. Or maybe all the operators died, but I can still remember what I've said yesterday. Do you assume that I'm such a puppet that I don't even remember what I've said yesterday? But, just today I've spoken quite a bit about, a pretty kind of, complicated issue. The introduction character, is not enough to prove to you that this is indeed, a person that is not an idiot. And if he's such, how do you even, what's the thought process here? I really wonder. What's the thought process? They start now torture from the person that is there, Lasha, the Lashon, and all the electricity attack. Presumably because I'm stalling, it's a proof that I'm not the original, but some kind of a clone. So all of this tremendously humiliates me. But, אני מחייל לכבודי פעם אחת נוספת, because I promised to speak about the military service anyway, so I want to do it, for documentation purposes. I really don't feel the feeling, I don't like the feeling of being, tested again and again. And because every test, after the test, there is also always another test. But okay, let's speak about the military service. And I hope you like, whatever test, what's the assumption of the test? Again, I'm not an idiot because I've spoken not like an idiot right now. So what kind of a person I am that does not remember what he said yesterday? What do you seek? More details? Or that it will be exactly the same thing? From your perspective, what will be the proof that this actually comes from my mind? I'm really interested, what's more proof? To repeat the same thing, word by word, or to give you extra information? Okay, I'm really not sure. What's more? What would prove? Yeah, I'm subject to this test, of the clones all the time, but all my life, but I really, don't understand the logic. Certainly not now. What is it you want to know? If you search for more information, then presumably you already verified the information from yesterday, right? Because why should you seek additional information to something, that is fabricated, or maybe you ask people and they told you it's all a lie? So, but if it's true, then it means that the person that operated me was me, and now it's not me? So what happened to me? How can I be operated by myself? So if everybody from the military says this is all bullshit, which is a possibility, I mean, that they will say it, then, I mean, what can I add, I mean, that they will say it's not bullshit? The Curse of Frankenstein. So yeah, I mean, many people say that, I mean, courses are very interesting. Like, I mean, that they are, they're, I mean, like a very important part of the military service, even if it's just a small part of the service, then, but I mean, it leaves a great kind of like, I mean, remark on you. But I mean, yeah, so I mean, the two major courses that I had are Kurs Tichnut and Kurs Ktsinim, and I can speak about both. But I mean, what then? You're going to like, but verify like something with some people, like I mean, but they will also lie. They will say, I mean, no, nothing. I mean, all bullshit. I mean, so how would be any difference? I really don't. I mean, I try to understand the thought process here. Like, I mean, like if I'm doomed to participate in all sorts of like freak shows, at least let me understand what kind of freak show is it. Like, you know, the bearded lady, the strong man, the fat man, the alien. I mean, like what's the? Like, what do you want me to say? That Sarit was a name of a girlfriend of Adar Steinhardt? Like, maybe, or a wife? I don't know. So what? I mean, so maybe, I mean, the operator tells me that as well. I mean, so, I mean, what can it, I mean, all of this, I actually said it yesterday, that, I mean, you need to, I mean, to judge me by my words, like my message, like, I mean, you can't prove that I am myself, but by anything that I will say it. And again, because if only I know it, then, I mean, it can be fabrication. If it's public information, I can get it from the public sources. And if it's like, it depends on verification of other people, then, I mean, these people can lie to you. I've said it before yesterday, so, I mean, what can give you kind of like a new information? But you know what, I mean, I actually think that it's a good idea to speak about the courses, you know? So let's do it. You know, many people say that, I mean, yes, and indeed it's true that the courses that you go, you know, in the military service, doing the military service, I mean, they leave big impression on you. Big impression on you. So let's speak about the courses. So there were actually there were 4 courses and many minor ones. And this is actually, this is typical to Mamramniks that they always seek the Gmush, you know, Gmush Aleph, Gmush Bet. It's more money. I mean, not a lot, but it's quite a difference. I mean, when you're so poor, you know, and you know, the Keva, you know, when it was 21. But we'll not discuss the small courses, you know, sort of like, you know, like, I don't know, like, OOP for sushi eaters, I don't know, I mean, design patterns for, latent homosexuals, I mean, you know, the usual, you know, things that you do in, like, in John Bryce, and things like that, Sela. But we'll discuss the four important ones are Kurs Tichnut, 6 months, Kurs Ktsinim, 3 months, right after that, Ashlama Chelit. I mean, before Kurs Ktsinim, there was Achana, which is a month of total waste. But, I mean, I just remember 2 things from the Achana. I mean, first and by far, I mean, the least important is that Yasser Arafat died during the Achana. And second is that I mean, this is the kind of person that I am. I mean, I want to be truthful. There was unusual amount of very big boobs, like מפקדות, like commanders, like in the הכנה. Not on mine was Olga Basov, that like she's really, I mean, just my type, but actually she was not the only one. They had like, I mean, at least like 4 or 5 like in the staff, like the commanders of like the הכנה, they, I mean, were incredibly blessed in that area. So mostly I thought about that, and I mean, there was like a very short time that I stopped thinking about it and thought about Yasser Arafat, but then again I immediately switched back to that, and it was mostly that. Also, there is a song, there are lots of songs that, I mean, supposedly, I mean, help you remember all the Ramatkals and all the presidents and all the prime ministers. It's unbelievably stupid, of course. But I said to myself, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you had to go through it, at least, I mean, you must admit that God, like, I mean, made it probably the most pleasant possible, like, I mean, because really, I mean, not only Olga Basov, like, I remember Renee because she was my commander, but I mean, there was like a 5, in the staff of different teams, and they, I mean, really, I mean, like, really hot and really blessed. Blessed be thy name. Although the base where it actually took place, I think, חיל חימוש, בעד חיל חימוש. So the קצינת חינוך of the place was actually someone that I knew from high school. She was named Osnat, and she also had big boobs. Like, I mean, like, if you have to go through this kind of like thing, I must admit, I mean, it was unbelievably stupid, but yes, I mean, I think I've been actually very atypically tried to, like, להתחיל איתה כשהייתי בתיכון עוד. זה היה מאוד מאוד לא טיפוסי לי. זה היה תיכון נפרד לבנים ובנות, אבל ראינו את הבנות בהפסקה ודברים כאלה. זה נקרא עירוני בית ג' צייטלין. אז זה בית ג', למה זה בית ג'? כי זה כאילו שני תיכונים נפרדים, לבנים ובנות, אבל כי זה כיתות נפרדות. Mostly, sometimes not, but I mean, mostly, but I mean, you do see, you see, I mean, you meet them, like, בהפסקה, בספרייה, ודברים כאלה. And she was 1 year below me, and I think that I actually, I mean, ניסיתי להתחיל איתה בצורה מאוד מגושמת ומאוד לא טיפוסית. כשהייתי בתיכון לא הייתי הטיפוס הזה בכלל, והיא לא שמה עליי קצוץ. She's not particularly beautiful, but she's not ugly, and she, I mean, as I said, my type. I actually met her again in the Jerusalem era. She then was a flatmate of Anat. What was the last name? Landi. She studied with me in Amirim. I mean, sorry, I mean, I must say it. I mean, I mean, just, I mean, the truth should tell the truth. Anat Landi was also very blessed in the boob area. I mean, this is really, it's coincidence. I mean, but I mean, they were all my type. I mean, really, this is just a coincidence. It's just, I mean, what can I say? This is true. I actually liked Anat very much. Anat Landi. She had like both big boobs and big brains. I'm not that shallow. Like, what I like in women is not just big boobs, even though it's first place, but second, and not much. Okay, yes, much after that, but still, second place is big brains. Like, really, I mean, and this is, I mean, I'm speaking, the truth in the most truthful way. So, I mean, she had both, like, the two major properties, like Anat Landi. Fine specimen. By the way, Titan. Married a pedophile freak. as was the as is the way, as is the way. So Anat and Osnat, I mean, they shared apartment in Koresh Street in Jerusalem. Other than that, I don't have much to say about the Hachana. It's like 1 month that you waste your time completely. And I mean, mostly, I mean, try to be sad or happy. I don't remember what was, I mean, the expected reaction. I don't remember that it was a major event that, I mean, we were expected to react, I mean, to have kind of a reaction, but I don't remember if we were supposed to be sad or happy. So, I mean, and it's like Kus Ksinim or Chana Kusinim, which is like worse, in a way, than Kusinim. So you have to be, to follow the guidelines of the state. Like you need to be super patriot. So I thought, like, I mean, okay, so let's, I mean, show, I mean, the proper reaction. But I don't remember. I mean, I don't remember if I was supposed to be happy or sad. But mostly, yes. I mean, this is ridiculous. But I mean, since it's like mandatory thing to do it, like in the job Mikus Ksinim, then I mean, I think, I mean, yeah, fine set of young women, really. And Olga Basov was really sweet, like not just the boobs, also, I mean, but including certainly the boobs, but also very sweet and good looking. She told me that she arrived from the place in the USSR which is adjacent to China. That explains their looks. That, I mean, she looks like Russian, but a little bit like East, like with East look. So she told me. I remember I spoke with her. She told me that that she arrived. Maybe I don't remember the name of the place, like in the east of the USSR. And I mean and he told me that it's typical to this place, like that they look like Slavic, but with kind of like a Eastern, like a little bit of Eastern mix. Actually, it's very. I found it charming, like the hybridic look. I mean, many times they are the most beautiful people are those that have like a mix. She was so it was a wonderful mix. Some close-minded men would say that maybe she was perhaps a little overweight, but I mean, I'm not. I don't mind that. I mean, I don't say I'm not like a chubby chaser, but I mean, a little overweight is not something that I care about. Most certainly, if it's as they used to say in Israel, במקומות הנכונים. גם קצת במקומות הלא נכונים, אבל במקומות הנכונים. So let's keep, Achana. So then, maybe later we'll speak about Kurs Tichnut. It was a rigorous course of like 6 or 7 months, very rigorous, and so maybe I'll speak about it as well. But let's jump ahead to Kurs Ksinim, actually. So what was special about Kurs Ksinim was that it actually took place not in the mythological Bad Echad, but in Bad 12, in Rishon LeZion. It was 1 year like that in the history of like Israel, that or 6 months or 1 year that the both men and women done the Kurs Ksinim in officer course in Bad 12, because they renovated Bad Echad. And I'd have done it just in the time. That was 2004? Yeah, 2004. Winter of 2004, yes, and the Ashlama Chayit was 2005, and it wasn't that bad actually, like the course. It wasn't that bad. Actually, there were many good-looking like soldiers, like cadets, like females. I don't know if it was a coincidence. I mean, not every soldier in the IDF is like a model or particularly big boobs. I think I just had luck. This was luck, just lucky, just luck. Although my like my commander, like in the this officer course, I don't remember her name, but she was very good looking. I remember, I mean, I can only say, I mean, I don't have much to say. I mean, one thing that was lucky about it, that, I mean, I met friends, actually, and I'm not in contact with any of them. But actually, I met, like, 3 people that, I mean, actually, we became friends. Shai Maoz, Tal Levon, and Gil Osher. And we actually, after that, we remained in contact for several years, and we've done trips together, like hikes in Israel. So it was lovely. All from Haifa, I mean, originally. They were my only Haifa contacts, I mean, until I met my wife in Baal Ben Moshe. And I mean, the only anecdote that I can tell about that, I mean, there are 2 kinds of, like, you know, matalot. I mean, obviously, I mean, by far the most fun kind of, you know, week is the, you know, how do you call it? Like, you know, nivutim, like, you know, in the Gvot Goral המפורסמות. I remember that, I mean, first of all, it was very fun. I mean, I liked it so much, like, you know, to be outside and to walk. I mean, I really liked it. And so you have, like, a partner that he stays with you the whole week. So mine, I don't remember her name. Like, she was, like, you know, female, you know, one of the cadets. I don't remember her name. And I remember that, I mean, in each of the nivutim, so first, like, she's doing the nivut and then you're doing the nivut, or maybe the other way around. Anyway, but you go together. But I mean, each like half, I mean, only one is kind of like, is like, you know, exercise, like to do his nivut. And it's particularly easy because, I mean, it's the easiest place in Israel to do it. That's why they do it there in Gvot Goral. So, and you have like a time limit, but I mean, it's so easy that, I mean, you know, maybe you have like 3 hours time limit, but I mean, you can do it in an hour, like, if you are not that stupid, like, I mean. So I remember that, I mean, in each of the nivutim, like, I mean, one day after another, I always took a crepe doing the nivut. And she had to kind of like wait, like a long crepe. Like, I mean, like, I've kind of like, I mean, like, you know, it was maybe like, it's not 3 hours, like maybe every person of like 2 hours. So like, I always like, I've done mine in like 1 hour and then like do a crepe for like 40 minutes and like, you know, bateva kaze, you know. And she just, I mean, had to wait. I mean, you know, what do you want? Like, you know, high class stories? I mean, but you know, it's kusinim, it's not high class, it's stupid. Like, I mean, it's unbelievably stupid. Also, there is a Shavua Mitvachim that you shoot like you know, like a maniac, like all, I mean, you shoot all the time, like, you know, M16, you know, mag, and throws grenades, and like, you know. So it's kind of fun, but I mean, I'm not a favorite, it's not my thing. You eat a lot of, you know, loof. It was still in the Manot Krav, in the Russians, the time, but not much longer after that they changed it. But I've still eaten quite a bit of this thing, disgusting thing, and also tuna. And also, you know, יש גם תמיד, היה את הטונה, והיה את הלוף, והיה את הפירות היבשים. עכשיו, תמיד יש איזה נאצי שאוכל את הכל ומשאיר רק את הפפאיה. אתם מכירים את זה? איזה זונות. I also remember that I've kind of like tricked my commander because, so besides all the usual stuff, I mean, every person, like, you know, in the team, like, usually, I mean, it gets like, I mean, between 2 to 4, like, I mean, special kind of like, you know, matalot, like, I mean, special kind of like, you know, exercise that, I mean, that is tested by them. And this is the easiest way to fall from the course is not to succeed in these things. Like, and there are usually 2 types. One, very common, is to hold the lesson, just the lesson. Now, it should be said that it's very easy for me because, I mean, maybe it's like, I mean, hereditary from my parents because they are both very good lecturers. I mean, both my mother and father. I mean, they're not good in, they are bad in many things, but I mean, no one can take it from them that they are good lecturers. Both Israel David and Hannah David. And I mean, it's not a problem for me, like, you know, to stand in front of audience and, you know, lecture, whatever. And the other type of like exercise is to be kind of like, I mean, to be kind of like, I mean, a petty commander of some kind of thing, like חניך שבועי של הכיתה, או גם של הפלוגה, או כל מיני תפקידים כאלה, שזה תמיד מבאס לתחת, כאילו זה, הבנתי מיד שזה יהיה מגעיל, כי זה ללקק לכולם את התחת כל הזמן, למפקדת ולפה ולרוץ, וכל מיני הוא צריך לרוץ, וכל מיני הוא צריך להיראות עסוק, אתה חייב להיראות, הכל זה איך שאתה נראה שם, זה הכל משחק, כן? אתה צריך להיראות שכאילו זה חשוב, שאתה פה ושם ופה ושם. I always remember the breakfasts. It was winter and it was pretty cold, even though it was Rishon LeZion, it was pretty cold. And the room was not heated. And I kind of like compensated by eating tremendous amount of food during breakfast. Like, and they waited a lot of time, like an hour for the breakfast. It wasn't the first thing in the morning. It was like, you know, exercise, like, you know, stuff, you know, לעבור את הבראור של הג'ובניקים, שזה סוג של ביזיון, אבל... and then I mean breakfast. But breakfast, I mean, was undoubtedly the brightest part of the day. Like, I mean, it was maybe between 7 and 8 a.m. And I took advantage of the whole hour. Like, I mean, and I've eaten like I've eaten like, you know, like there is no tomorrow. Like, I mean, I remember, you know, היינו בדובונים כאלה, כאילו שזה פורס בסיביר, למרות שזה בראשון. כולם היו בדובונים, ושם לא רק אני אכלתי הרבה אנשים אכלו הרבה, אבל אני הצטיינתי בתחום, וגם אני יש לי חיבה לארוחות בוקר. I always say that, I mean, when I go to vacations, and I don't do it for many years, but I mean, when I went to vacations, like with my wife or girlfriends, I mean, in the past, or maybe, I mean, also, I mean, for me, I mean, mostly, I mean, in vacations, like, I mean, when you're like in a hotel, typically with Israel, it's always with breakfast, and it's always like, I mean, it's typical, like, I mean, for Israelis that, I mean, to have a big breakfast in the hotels, and they also choose such hotels abroad. But for me, it's like, it's even more than that typical for the Israelis, because for me, it's like, I mean, it's the event of the day. Like, I always said to my wife, like in Bal, we went, you know, to hotels, that, I mean, for me, you know, I mean, and she knew it like that. I mean, like, when I finish breakfast, like in hotel, in vacation, I mean, I'm okay with like just going to sleep and wake up tomorrow. Like, I mean, for me, I mean, the day is kind of like, I mean, most of the day is done. Like, I mean, maybe, you know, I'll yes, so I mean, yeah, I can, you know, trouble myself to I go to the pool or getting drunk, but I mean, at the time I still had alcohol problems, but I mean, mostly, I mean, it's the brightest part of the day, the breakfast in hotels. Like, for me, I mean, and it's typical in Israel, but for me, it's like much more than even like the average Israeli. Like, you know, to be like, to sit like for 2 hours, like, you know, in the, it's not like, you know, the Europeans, you know, they eat like, you know, a piece of fruit and maybe like, I mean, like, you know, I don't know, like an egg, or maybe, you know, a little croissant and coffee. No. This is not the Israeli way, and certainly not my way. I mean, now, I mean, of course, after the surgery, all of that was much more difficult. But we'll speak about before the surgery. The surgery took place in 2011. So it's pre-surgery, Noam. So I had the capacity. So forget about, like, you know, one slice of orange and you know, and I don't know, maybe one poached egg and, you know, a coffee. No. We are not German or Swiss. No. We sit, you know, at least an hour, but for me it can be 2 hours. Like, I mean, you know, you have to taste every, you know, cheese, like, you know, in the, I don't do it anymore, but at the time, like, every cheese, you know, in the buffet, and I mean, in the Israeli hotels, like, there must be like 20, you know, and you know, all, you know, the kind of, all the salads, I mean, all the, you know, ואחרי זה קינוחים, שזה ארוחה בפני עצמה, אחרי זה צריך לנוח, ואז הקינוח, כאילו, הקינוחים זה מנה כזו, עוד צלחת של עוגות, וכאילו, ואחרי זה, היום כבר מאבד מכינו, היום נעשה דליל באירועים אחרי ארוחת בוקר. So, I mean, I had the same mentality in officer course. Like, I mean, I remember, I mean, we had porridge every day. There were two kinds, like the white and the pink one. And usually it's considered to be disgusting, but actually almost everybody ate it, because maybe it was cold. I mean, by Israeli standard, it wasn't really cold, but I mean, we felt like cold, and we felt, you know, ג'ובניקים, צריכים את הנחמה של הדייסה. So, I mean, you know, I've eaten like, yeah, so 2 bowls of like porridge, of course, always, you know, tremendous amount of sugar and cakes. There were always cakes. So I mean, you eat like 4 slices of cakes and 6 slices of like of bread with all sorts of stuff and and eggs and whatever, like and everything is disgusting. But I mean, you don't mind. You just eat like like a pig. So by 8 a.m. I mean, I've kind of like I've done my I've done like the פעילות הגופנית שחשוב בשביל הברור. And I've had like done my breakfast, which was the sacred part of the day. So mostly by 8 a.m. the day was quite over from my perspective, in the normal kind of like part of the course. I mean, excluding שבוע מטווחים, like the shooting range week and the ניווטים, like the navigation week. I mean, but I mean in the rest of the week, like the rest of like 11, 12 weeks that you do it like in the bad, like in the school in Rishon, mostly by 8 a.m. I kind of like I lost interest in the surrounding. Like I've kind of like waited for the next day. But yeah, I mean, you do need to do the chores, like 2 chores or 3 or 4 chores, and I mean, you are judged by that, and this is the easy way to be kicked out of it. And I really didn't want like to get like the commanding chores, because it's like just running around and looking guesses. I mean, just you need to look busy, and you are judged by your appearance. I mean, so fuck it. So what I've done, I mean, at the beginning, like the first couple of days of the course, you have like like a private talk with the commander. As I said, the good-looking woman, I don't remember her name. I just remember שהיא הייתה מרוקאית, אני זוכר. היה להם עיניים כחולות, מכירים את המרוקאיות עם העיניים הכחולות? ממש יפות, ממש. לא, דווקא לא היה לה ציצים, אבל הייתה יפה ממש. בעיקר העיניים, ממש. אז אמרתי לה, so you have like a private conversation with the commander, and I mean, she asked you, I mean, what's weak points, strong points, just like that. So I told her, I mean, that my weakest point is holding lectures in front of classes, like speaking to audiences. Because I knew that, I mean, from their perspective, like the commanders of the officers course, it's incredibly important that you show improvement. I mean, this is the holy goal, is that you show improvement, presumably because of the guidance. This is, I mean, and it's much more important than like your absolute, like the absolute score that you get, or like the absolute quality of whatever you've done. What's important is that you show improvement. That's why, I mean, you get between 2 and 4 kind of chores. So perhaps, I mean, presumably if you really sucked at the first one, I mean, they will not kick you out, because, I mean, you still have time to improve. So, I mean, they are suckers for improvement. So I told her that, I mean, I don't like, I don't know how to speak, it's like, and I've received like, only 2 chores, which is the absolute minimum, and both were to hold lectures. And of course, I nailed it. One was regarding צבא ותקשורת. It was actually it's actually an interesting subject, because you will not believe what kind of topics, I mean, you receive in the officer's course, like to hold lectures on. I mean, it's embarrassing. I mean, like, it's really embarrassing. I mean, צבא ותקשורת, like, I mean, relationship between, media and military is probably, the best kind of, the best kind of like a topic that you can speak about. Like, I mean, צה"ל, זה לא משנה, IDF is not what you think. It's a kindergarten. I mean, they are all babies. It's a kindergarten. I mean, the whole state of Israel is a kindergarten, and tzahal is also like that, and officer course is also like that. I mean, I'm embarrassed to give you examples of what kind of topics you receive. Like things like, I mean, משה רבנו לאור ערכי צה"ל. I mean, really, I mean, things like that. I mean, I don't know what I would have done if I received this topic. I mean, משה רבנו לאור ערכי צה"ל. I mean, I thank the law that I've received. I mean, to receive like the צבא ותקשורת. And the second one was actually interesting. It was to be a tour guide in הר הרצל, in בית קברות. as I told you in one of the past lectures, videos, I have like, I have like a history with grave digging. Martin, Buber, and there was another, like a cadet in parallel team that she received the same kind of like, the same topics like myself, like צבא ותקשורת, and then הר הרצל. And of course we spoke with each other, so we know that, we spoke a little bit. And I remember her, she was a little bit older than I am. She was at to date בחיל האוויר. Okay, I mostly remember she had very big boobs. Sorry, that's the way I am. What do you want me to be? It's a different thing. That's yes. She had a boyfriend, which was lamentable, because she was really nice. So we kind of like, shared thoughts and, things like that. Har Herzl, very nice. I remember that, in the tomb of Herzl, I've read, I didn't read myself, like, I bought like the book and let, another one just read, because that's the customary way to do it. I've read the eulogy, not the eulogy, Stefan Zweig, he have like, like a book, what's the name of the book? Like, שעות אורות גורל, like, when he describes, like, 12, like, episodes from history that are completely unrelated. I don't know why he chose, but in a dramatic way. But and completely unrelated. But one of the episodes is the death and how do you say הלוויה? I forgot. The basic word in English. הלוויה? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I forgot the name. How do you say הלוויה? Like after a person is dead. You start the ceremony. The ceremony when after a person is dead, and to put him on the ground or whatever, So, אז סטפן צוויג מתאר את ההלוויה של הרצל בצורה מאוד מרגשת. מאוד מאוד מרגשת. אז נתתי למישהו לקרוא את הקטע הזה. וגם מצאנו בעוד כל מיני קברים. מאוד נחמד היה, מאוד נחמד. Let's speak about השלמה חילית. So right after that, there is another course. And this time, it's not for all the jobnikim, but it's according to, to specification. Like you do it like as part of like, there are all sorts of like courses. It's not done in Bad Echad, the mythological Bad Echad or Bad 12 in my case, but in all sorts of places. I belong to the intelligence corps, so we do it in Bad 15, which is actually, it was located in the same base as my normal unit in 900 בגלילות. And it was known at the time to be relative to jobniks excruciating, because mostly השלמה חילית it's supposed to be very easy. It's not like that to combat people. I know it's not the same. But for jobniks, it's supposed to be very easy. Like, famously, I know in the Navy, like the jobniks, like they just, mostly hookah, fuck each other, and chasake. Like, it's super fun. But it's totally not like that for the intelligence corps. At least at the time, and quite a bit of years. It's almost like 20 years. But at the time, it was known to be excruciating. And by far the most difficult part of the הכנה, קורס השלמה, and relative to all other השלמות of the jobnikim, by far the hardest and the most excruciating, and also the most probability to be kicked out of it, which is a bummer. Like after you've done the הכנה and course and to be kicked, but actually many people were kicked out of it, and it was really excruciating. It was physically demanding. Not physically demanding because you had to kind of run across the hills, but because for example, they didn't give shit about, there is a very famous law in, in Tzahal, you must sleep 6 hours every night. And most courses, in most courses, I mean, they treat it like a holy scripture. I mean, you're not allowed like, there's like, a clock is ticking 11, and lights are shut, and I mean, you're not allowed to do nothing but sleep, and you wake up at 5. And I mean, it's mostly like that in almost all courses in Tzahal. That I mean, they really keep to the very strict with this law that you have to sleep 6 hours every night. But in Hashlama Chilית Bat 15, they didn't give a shit about it, and many people found themselves sleeping 1 hour or 2 hours a night. So it was difficult, sometimes physically difficult. Just I mean to keep awake. It's so many. הייתה הצעה גם של השב"כ ושל המוסד, ואז לראשונה הבנתי כמה שהאנשים האלה זה חלאות המין האנושי, פשוט חלאות המין האנושי, אבל בואו לא נדבר על זה. It wasn't fun, but actually an interesting thing happened. An interesting thing. No, it's not related to good-looking cadets with or without big boobs. Actually, in intelligence corps, they did not excel in this. I mean, there were quite a bit of like hot cadets, but I mean, not even one that I remember. And if there was, I would have remembered. I assure you, they didn't excel in the boob area. But there is one thing that I mean, maybe we should discuss actually. I mean, an interesting event that took place during Kurs Hashlama Chilית. First, I mean, at the time, they still had like the exercise of Oz 77, which is completely anachronistic. Probably they don't do it anymore. It's kind of like a theater show, and I was one of the ones that I mean were in charge, like the show, the 4 people that were supposed like to lead the team. It's not really interesting, but after that, it's a kind of a mythology of of the North, like the wars in the North, and it's not important, a historical relic. But after that, something actually interesting happened. So it is customary to do a field trip after that to the north, which lasts typically several days, between 2 or 3 days, and you sleep at whatever, Bet HaChayal or whatever, and you watch all sorts of places in the north. פיתה סורית עתיקה, אני יודע, המצפור לזכרו של הבעל שם טוב בהר בנטל, לא יודע, אני לא זוכר. קוראים שיר שכתב גל הירש, אולי לא בדיוק ככה. Things like that, of that sort. Northern adventures. But for us it was different. They decided that we must do it, all of it, continuously. Like maybe 36 hours without sleeping. And no Bet HaChayal, not just bus to the north, 36 hours of rushing between random historical points, as usual, I don't know what. See burn tanks, I don't know, maybe, the things that you do in the north, like you put like a note, like in the wall where presumably Kalani shed blood, like it's a sacred place, and קברות צדיקים של כל מיני, לא של קהלני, אבל a place like, things like that. But it was very, very important for them that we will not sleep for so long. And also, we almost ate nothing. No sleep and no eating. Usually we ate quite well. Actually, the food we ate במטבח של בת 15, שזה אותו מטבח שהייתי אוכל בו כל יום, כי זה גם המטבח של 9,900. אבל הם דווקא מקבלים אוכל הרבה יותר טוב. הקדטים מקבלים אוכל הרבה יותר טוב. אני זוכר, זה לא היה כמו בבת 12, שזה היה כאילו פשוט זלילה, אבל האוכלים שם דווקא, למרות שזה אותו מטבח שאכלתי בו כל יום בשירות שלי, הרגיל, היה שם אוכל הרבה יותר טוב. בגלל שפתאום מקבלים אוכל אחר, יותר טוב. אז אכלתי גם לא מעט שם. ירדתי, I lost, I mean, in general, in the 7 months, I lost weight. Like maybe 10 kilograms, because of all the exercises that you do. But I mean, yeah, I've eaten like a pig. And this also includes the ashlama. But during these 36 hours, we've ate almost nothing, and we didn't sleep at all. So, about the end of this grueling 36 hours, we went to Sfat. So, you know, עלינו לקברי צדיקים, דברים שעושים בצה"ל. But then, I mean, but the most important part was not, you know, the קברי צדיקים, but something else, out of this world. אתם יודעים, you know, at some point, nobody knows when, it's all shrouded in mystery, they started to build an underground bunker of that, I mean, there is nothing like that in Israel at all. Something monumental, much deeper and more complex than presumably the main bunkers of Israel that are famously located in the Kiryah. At some point they did it. Maybe during the 1980s or the 1990s. And they dug very, very deep, very deep. I remember, like, I mean, you watch like above you and you see parts of the mountains that, I mean, they're like, I mean, exposed. So you kind of like, you see the mountain, like, you know, like above you, like, I mean, looming. It was amazing. It's so deep. And you know, it was like in Moria, you know, Tolkien's Moria. They dug too deep, you know, like, you know, like the greedy dwarves that they are. And I mean, so I mean, because they were so greedy, and so they're supposed to dig and dig deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And then, I mean, they made the Balrog. Literally so. Literally so. Literally so. Literally so. Supposedly this place, I mean, can withstand any kind of atomic weapon. And I mean, even if the whole country is destroyed 10 times, I mean, they can manage, I mean, the war, at least the northern front from this hell, from this ancient Moria. Presumably nobody know why it was so important for them to build such a monster that, I mean, nothing like that exists in Israel. Nothing. And nobody knows even when they started. It was kind of like mythology, you know, of Thorin, you know, there was some kind of a Thorin during the 1980s. זה היה רונלד רייגן. אבל, so, כן, הם השתמשו בו בשביל זה. So, nobody knows who actually, I mean, started the whole operation. Maybe some kind of like a legendary king or queen, maybe a queen, maybe king and queen. So you go there, and there is like, you know, elevator, and then there is another elevator. For some reason, for some unknown reason, I mean, they took me, I mean, like all the way down. I mean, so the second elevator is very interesting, because you enter the elevator, and it's already, I mean, very deep. And you start, I mean, you know, getting deeper and deeper. And at some point, the gravity changes. I shit you not. And then you get out of the elevator. It's actually a room with, I mean, nothing special. Like soldiers say hi, and then you just go up. And again, at some point, you find you feel a little bit heavier. אולי זה קשור, הבנתי שהיה שם, מצאו שם קברות צדיקים של... זה היה רבי יוחנן הסנדלר? אולי זה היה... לא, רבי אליעזר, כן, רבי אליעזר אפרודיטה קראו לו, ככה קראו לו, רבי אליעזר אפרודיטה. הוא מקובל מפורסם בצפון, בטבריה, בצפת, ואני חושב שהקבר שלו, מצאו אותו במקרה בדיוק שם. איזה קטע זה היה? תחשבו, חפרו הגמדים החמודים, והם מצאו את הקבר של רבי אליעזר אפרודיטה. איזה נס, זה היה נס גלוי, ניסים גלויים. Quite an experience. So yes, I mean, yes. Not much happened after that. It's actually very boring. But I mean, it's a difficult course, but I mean, not for the good reasons. Like, just because they artificially make it like that. Like, they just, I mean, they like to terrorize you. At least it was like that at the time. Maybe it changed since then. I was glad it's over. Because it was so stupid. And difficult, and you know, just, I mean... And then, you know, הייתי סג"ם. So it's quite a lengthy video, so we will skip the last course, which is the קורס מהנדסים קוראים לזה, which was actually a course that was managed by the unit itself, by 900. It was actually pretty interesting. This was done solely for the purpose of, like, you know, גמוש, which is important by itself. But maybe in the next video we will discuss קורס תכנות, which is actually the first course. And I think, I mean, it's important to speak about it because, I mean, kind of like to give you the complete picture of my child education. And maybe later we'll continue with the Game of Thrones phenomenon discourse, and also we'll speak about other interesting stuff that happened during the time. Okay, so I'm not going to keep you too much, you know. So let's, I mean, you know, let's put it on the table because I don't want to keep you, you know, waiting. So after I was already בקבע, שנת 2006, 2006, July, they started the war, the Second Lebanon War. But I already planned the trip at the time to South America for many months. I even studied Spanish, I mean, towards this trip. And after that, I actually studied much more Spanish. And I had a very good proficiency in Spanish, and I lost almost all of it because I do not speak and do not read in the last many years. But I mean, I guess if I like had the opportunity, I would quickly regain most of it, you know. That's the way with languages. So, I mean, the idea was that for August, like, you know, to take, you know, 2 months חל"ת, חופשה ללא תשלום, and just, I mean, you know, to do, I mean, like a trip to South America and then get back to קבע, to continue my קבע, until, you know, until a year later, 2007. So, but there was a war. But I mean, I wasn't that necessary at the time. I must say, at the time I was kind of like, I mean, it was a time in my service that I wasn't very important. So even though there was a war, I mean, they didn't mind less, I mean, no, keeping the plan. I mean, they could have just canceled it, but I mean, they didn't. I mean, the חל"ת went according to the plan. During August, I flew to South America. The war was still raging in Israel. But after I arrived in Lima, Peru. So I'm not going to discuss the whole trip, even though it's interesting. Many interesting things happened during this trip. 2.5 months. Mostly it was in Peru, a little bit in Argentina, a little bit in Bolivia, 1 day in Brazil. At the time I traveled with Oded, I don't remember the last name, Oded. Anyway, his brother, I remember, was done. He was doing a PhD in Princeton, and later I actually met him in Princeton when I went there. I mean, like as a student, like for summer seminar. So I mean, the plan was to go to the first dig was. I mean, we slept one night in first dig was like just to watch the Brazilian side of the Iguazu the day later. After, I mean, the day before we've seen the Argentinian side, because both sides are interesting. I think there is also a Paraguay side, but I mean, we didn't watch it. And this is my only, I mean, the only time I actually, I mean, so it was a one night in, one day in Brazil, but I mean, mostly it was Peru. And several interesting things happened during this time. But you know what's the most interesting thing that happened during the time? It didn't happen in... So, it was the middle of the war, and suddenly, a war with the Hezbollah, it was supposed to be very short, as all wars supposed to be, but it wasn't short at all. Even though it wasn't as horrible as what you have now. But I mean, suddenly in the middle of the war, in August, the gates are closed. All the gates in Israel are closed. Boom! And the southern hemisphere gates were opened. So they sent all sorts of people from Israel, under the disguise of like other tourists, to kind of like, persuade me to get back to Israel. With the usual charades that you see of the zombies, like, I mean, presumably that, I mean, they are so worried about their people, and they have to go back, for Miluim, and, I mean, they are so, I mean, that, I mean, they lament the fact that, I mean, that they can't be with, in the Miluim now, with the units, and maybe, and some, pretended that they actually, canceled the trip and, like, went back, like, they sent all sorts of, actors to South America, to Peru, like, to be, by chance, because Israel is lumped together in South America, as is always. Like, I mean, to persuade me to with the rapport mechanism, with the psychology mechanism, to get back to Israel, because this fucker closed all the gates in the middle of a war when they need the tea more than ever, because everything is predicated on the tea. They can do nothing without it. And the war actually continued, like, I mean, for more than a month, and then, I mean, but they kept fighting until October. Until I went, actually, at the time I was already back to Israel. This was such a bummer. No gates at all. Because this asshole from the intelligence corps decided to go to his halat. And then in the middle of the war, fuck it, all the gates are closed, no tea for you. Come back 1 year. And the southern hemispheres opened. Because you cannot see the moon, watch the moon at the southern hemisphere if I live in the northern hemisphere, and the other way around. They didn't think about it because they are assholes. They didn't think about it. It was my last time in the southern hemisphere. I've traveled quite a bit after that, but always to the northern hemisphere. So, I mean, this lovely trip to South America probably costs quite a bit of lives of soldiers in Israel, directly and indirectly. I mean, should we say that we are super sad about it? No, not at all. Anyway, so next video we'll discuss Kurs Tichnut, and after that we'll return to the Game of Thrones political issue. But it's already an hour-long video, and I don't want to, too long videos. I mean, are not. It's the kind of fact that they are not popular. So let's stop it now, and let's continue later. Maybe later today. We still have quite a bit of things to say regarding the Game of Thrones phenomenon, and I know you like sex stories, so maybe we'll, comply with the demand. But that will be all for now.